In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make some of this. The very basics of what we need is a container, and how big it is will depend on how large of copper you're putting in. A power supply. I have an adjustable one right here, but many things will work. Some white vinegar, a piece of copper. For the steel plate, I'm just using steel because I want to reuse it for depositing. So first we'll pour some vinegar into the container. Don't pour too much because you don't want it to overflow when you put in the copper and the steel and the other stuff. I'm not going to use too much because I don't really need to use that much. You also need some salt. I forgot to mention it earlier, but you need some salt just for the conductivity, so it actually works. Just put in however much seems right. There's no really, I'm kind of arbitrarily doing it. Make sure to stir it around. Now time to put in the metals. Make sure the steel is free of oil, so it can actually plate onto it. Alright. Then copper. So you're going to want the positive end, the anode, to be on the copper, and the cathode to be the steel. Alright, I'm going to place this now, and I'm just going to show you what it'll look like this, and then I'm going to put a lid on. You don't necessarily need a lid, but also help with smell, so if you're doing it inside, so it just kind of keeps most of it inside. And you don't want the voltage to be too high, or else it'll get really hot and start bubbling and it's just annoying. But you don't want it to be too low, and then it'll just take really long. So also this is going to be a bit arbitrary. I'm going to turn it on now, and you'll see what it should start to look like. So I'm not sure if you can see, but it's bubbling on the cathode. Much more than it's bubbling on the anode. I don't think the anode's bubbling really at all. Alright, I adjusted it and put on the lid. Now it should be going. And I'll leave this on for a bit and I will come back. I let the copper deposit for about 4 hours. It settled around 2 amps because some of the salt fell down to the bottom. I then poured it out onto a metal sheet, which was not the best idea. I probably should have done it on glass. I put some paper towels over it to get most of the water out. I then poured it into a container to let it dry overnight. That was not a good idea because it did not evaporate and it just turned it even more into a mush. So I used a little contraption with an incandescent light bulb and some aluminum foil to dry it out, and that worked pretty well. I was left with a rather green solution rather than blue, which what I thought it would turn into, but I guess I can compare it to a nickel solution. So if you want to see that, subscribe and look out for a video.